Well, you guys are in for an absolute treat. We're able to land an interview with a defector from the Chinese Communist Party who escaped from Hong Kong, who's an MD, Ph.D., who's a veteran of the system, and was really the primary initial whistleblower to alert the Western world that the SARS-CoV-2 virus did not come from nature. It originated in a lab. So we discussed the details of that, her harrowing escape, the continued threats to her to have the Chinese disappear her, and most importantly, give you a perspective of what's going on and how China was most likely not only responsible, even though there was US funding, but they were primarily responsible for creating this bioweapon, but also they have the eyes on targeting and destroying literally destroying the United States within the next 10 years. So it's a fascinating discussion with an amazing call to action, and you're just going to love this. So you've got to watch this one because it's a keeper.
When I was first on the Fox News, so I told them the WHO and the CCP cooperated and they cover up together. At that time, it is a bombshell. Now, most of people realize it's not from nature. That is a very good turning. And I keep help other people to realize the evidence. Now I see that even some mainstream media start to talk about the possibility of bioweapon. People need to realize that although China is using this virus together with their misinformation campaign, propaganda, other things to attack all over the world, once you realize something wrong, they use misinformation and denial to confuse you. So now I say, when China released it, and China controls the scientific community to spread misinformation and censored to let people believe it's come from nature, what will people do? Two ways. One is they will think about drugs, the drugs they already have. And the other way is vaccine, because people are all educated to accept the vaccine can anti-pandemic. And in this case, the useful drug, like the hydroxychloroquine and later ivermectins, are so cheap. How could they use this to earn huge profits? Chinese Communist Party also had a lot of the stock shares from like Pfizer, from Moderna, from other big pharmacies. They all say, okay, now we can use this chance to make money. I want Americans to know that first, adults as us should realize the evilness of the communism, Maoism, Marxism, no matter what name they changed. And once we realize this, tell it out. Let the people around you know that, because they are doing propaganda to brainwash people. You have to update your law system, because they studied decades to study the weakness in your law system to divide America. So once you do all these things, hold them accountable. That's the end of the pandemic.
Welcome, everyone. This is Dr. Mercola helping you take control of your health. And we're going to continue in our discussions of the COVID-19 pandemic and its origins, and with a fascinating guest who has really been one of the leaders in exposing the corruption and the fraud with respect to the origins of the virus. But we're going to go into much more and really get an idea of what it's like to be in China, escape from it. So she's got a fascinating history. This woman is a physician. She's an MD and she's a PhD, has specific training in coronaviruses, and actually escaped China to come to the United States to warn us of what was happening. And she's been on many podcasts. Tucker Carlson's had her, and we're just delighted to connect with her so she can share her story and give us a glimpse and an insider information as to what has been going on. So welcome, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Dr. McCullough. Thank you for having me. Nice to meet you.
Yeah. So you have a relatively thick Chinese accent, but that's okay because I'm just delighted you can speak English. It's just an extraordinary achievement to be able to do that. So I really appreciate you joining us. So I think it might be best to start at the beginning and share the details of your training, and more specifically than I did. So you went to medical school and then you went into Ph.D. Training. So what can you tell us about that? And I think you wound up working with the WHO, the World Health Organization, too.
Oh, yes. So I did my PhD, MD training for 7 years because in China, the 7-year clinical medicine program at that time, it is for the top medicine student. And you got MD and also MPhil, that degree together when you graduate, and you save 1 year compared to the other medical students. Mm-hmm. And after that, I went to another top medical university, which I took the Ph.D. for the ophthalmology. I was going to be the eye doctor at that time.
You're going to be an ophthalmologist. That's interesting.
Yeah, the way I choose to be ophthalmologist is because I don't want to see the patients that in front of me. So as a medical student, I can choose all the field in this professional field. However, ophthalmology is the only one you don't need to face death in your department.
Oh, okay. So then what happened? What diverted you from ophthalmology?
Okay, so I took my ophthalmology degree from Southern Medical University. Different as my MD university, this university was the military medical university before I entered it. So that's why somehow I can have a unique network based on my alumni and people I know involve both civilian and military research labs and also the hospitals in China. However, after I finish my study, I want to pursue more about the research because first is because of the system in China, in the hospital and CCP style, I really don't like it. The other reason is because I don't want to sit there and listen to someone give me the guidance. Mm-hmm. So I want to know why we do this according to guidance. And then I moved to the University of Hong Kong and spent 2 years there working in also an ophthalmology lab. And I did a lot of research about stem cell information and drug and also artificial tissue development. Mm-hmm. After that, because the WHO H5 reference lab in the School of Public Health at the University of Hong Kong, the boss, Professor Malik Paris, he knows me because my husband worked with him and his best helper. So Malik wanted me to join their lab because he liked my expertise and my skills. So he invited me to join it. And I think it's very challengeable and it will be very interesting because that is emerging infectious disease. So I can learn and I can do a lot of things. That's why I entered it. And then I spent 5 years from that time until I leave Hong Kong. I worked on the influenza virus, universal influenza vaccine development, and then focused on the SARS-CoV-2 after the outbreak.
Wow. So you had 7 years of medical school, 3 years of residency in ophthalmology in China. That's 10. And then you went for 2-year postdoc in ophthalmology research in Hong Kong, and then 5 more years. That's almost a 20-year postdoc education.
I'm not young now.
So you've been committed to the academic facility. So 7 years in Hong Kong studying this. So that's great. So I guess you left Hong Kong in 2020?
Yes, end of April 2020.
Okay, so so thank you so much for sharing your background, because I think that'll help us understand your training and your expertise. Can you describe what caused you to leave? What catalyzed that event? And because it seemed like it came at a great cost to you and your family. And I'm just really curious as to what motivated you.
Oh, actually, if you talk about motivate, it's very simple because I'm the doctor, and also I'm the virologist. When I see the things happen, when I have the information and based on my knowledge and my expertise, I made the judgment. And I know if I don't do it, I will be regretful for my whole life. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, although this should be something, everyone wants to do it, it's the right thing. But because I was in the Chinese Communist Party's country, that's why, it's not allowed. So I have to escape. And mm-hmm. the thing I have done is because at the end of December 2019, 31st December, I was appointed by my supervisor, the WHO emerging infectious disease expert, Dr. Li-Meng at the University of Hong Kong, to do some confidential investigation all by myself. Mm-hmm. And at that time, in Wuhan, they know that there is a new pneumonia happened, mm-hmm. and it is SARS-like virus. Right mm-hmm. after, Dr. Li-Meng Yan in Wuhan's whistleblower action. So after that, Hong Kong and also WHO expert want to know what happened because they worry the SARS-like outbreak will happen again, and China is doing something hiding it. Mm-hmm. And then they also warn me that you should keep silence, don't cross the red line. That means don't make China angry. And as I said, I have my unique network based in China. Mm-hmm. My friends from those top universities stay all over China in the hospital institution, including the China CDC headquarters. So all this kind of information I collected from them, and I feed back to WHO, those experts, Malik Paris and Li-Meng. Both of them shows that they want help China to cover it up. Mm-hmm. And also because I wait until middle January, when Leo again turned to me to tell me to search the raccoon dog. Raccoon dog is like civet cat. Mm-hmm. So he showed me the email that someone implied him to find the raccoon dog as intermediate host in Wuhan from the seafood market.
So this is you said a record dog?
Raccoon dog. Raccoon dog is like...
Oh, raccoon dog. Okay. So
yeah, sorry. It's like civet cat.
It's okay. So it's a very specific type of cat, right? And this is where coronavirus, when they were doing research with them?
Because SARS-1 come out from civet cat. And the people who found the civet cat for SARS-1's host is the same experts I work with in that lab. Okay. So this time you see again, the information was delivered to them. Ask them to log the raccoon dog. Okay. However, when I again do the research through my friend in Wuhan and all the other people, I realized that these are all the lies. And mm-hmm. at that time, from 16th January, when I feedback it to Li-Meng, he also warned me, if you don't keep silence, you will be disappeared. So that's clearly that they won't do anything. And my research, my information, and my expertise also make me found that this virus is not from nature. It is from the Chinese military lab. It is a product after modification based on the People's Liberation Army owned. They discovered from the mountains, the special bat coronavirus. Mm-hmm. This coronavirus, they name it as ZC45. Mm-hmm. And another twin-like strain is called ZXC21. They published it early 2018. And after that, they submit the viral sequence to NIH Gene Bank. And then they did also other experiments. And if you compare this virus genome and the SARS-CoV-2 virus genome, you will realize some smoking gun happened in the genome.
Yeah. And did you publish these findings in Nature?
No, this finding later I published on the NADO. Last September, I published the 3-year reports.
Okay.
So because these ones I know, no one will let me pass the censorship in academic field. And these are the information I have to deliver as soon as possible at that time.
Okay.
So my Nature paper is about SARS-CoV-2 using the hamster as a transmission model. That is very high recommended. And that's the first time people found the right transmission model, which has a lot of meaning.
And when did you publish that paper?
That paper was finally accepted on May 2020.
Okay.
Right after I escaped.
Right after you left. Yeah. Okay.
Right after.
Yeah. So for those who may not be aware, Nature is probably one of the most prestigious and reputable journals in the world. So congratulations on that. That's quite an achievement.
Thank you very much. And I know that there are a lot of, Nature and Cell Science and Lancet, they did a lot of terrible things in the pandemic to spread misinformation.
Oh, yes, they did. Yes.
But I can tell people this experiment, I handle many important parts. I'm the co-first author, and I can guarantee this data's quality.
Yeah, Nature was responsible for spreading some lies, but they were at least complicit in their efforts. Because they just really contributed to the misinformation out there.
They mixed, because this actually controlled by a handful of scientists, so they can use the journal to deliver misinformation because they are the experts.
Yes,
so, again, back to that time, so I realized that I have to deliver the message out by myself in the middle of January 2020. Then the only thing I want to do is to find someone reliable. At that time, I finally choose a YouTube blogger who based in US, and his YouTube channel named Golden Media. And there are millions of Chinese people listen to his broadcast. And I also listen to that. I believe he's a real anti-CCP person who dare to reveal the darkness. So I managed to contact him through Twitter. And luckily, he returned to me. And I spent 2 days because he's a layman. I explained him the evidence and the importance. And also, he used his knowledge to make the judgment. Finally, on 19th January 2020, he delivered the message for me to the world. And my only idea at that time is to using this to give the international pressure back to China government, force them to stop this outbreak. And the 5 main messages I deliver out at that time, all verified. So beside what I mentioned, the PLA labs backbone virus, and the other thing, including the China and WHO are covering up, and there was human-to-human transmission exists. And also there will be a lot of emerging variants if they don't control, and there will be pandemic. And also that there is no wild animal as intermediate host, and seafood market is not the origin of the virus. So China actually did a very quick response against this broadcast. Just after 4 hours, we delivered the message out. China government has to announce that triple time of the cases in Wuhan. From 62 jumped to 198. It was midnight in China. And then the next morning, they had to admit that out of Wuhan, other cities in China, there were cases. And within 24 hours, they admit the first time in the world, admit human-to-human transmission. And also the Chairman Xi Jinping update the SARS-CoV-2 disease level in the infectious disease law to the same level as SARS-1, which is the top level infectious disease. And I keep deliver the message and evidence out and all the things, update things, analyze. So after that, 3 days later, China locked down Wuhan.
Wow.
So all this force them to change their plans.
So do you think this is all related to your podcast?
Yes, because this is not the first time Chairman Xi and the China government listen to that broadcast and do the response. And my information before that clearly shows they're still going to hide human-to-human transmission and the cases and all this. They postpone diagnosis. They keep doing it. Nothing shows they are going to change it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, after that, I keep helping Mr. Luder. So during my work, for example, you know the famous Lancet, that 27 scientists letter, right? My supervisor, Dr. Liu Peng, was signing it. And then Malik Paris refused to sign it, although he got the letter, because he want to keep low profile. He's very important as international bridge in the whole field. Mm-hmm. Why I know this? Because my husband is also the expert, work with them. The most close expert work with these two supervisors. So I have more information from them than other people. And I review it through the media too. I said they're lying. Peter Daszak did this email, and then all the things is organized. And also later on, there are many things I keep revealing. In Luder's media, also back from the end of January already, there are other hosts talk about that hydroxychloroquine was found can be useful to treat the COVID-19 because they also have the medical background. And I endorse it after my research. So we help people to know that there were treatment and China's lying and all these things together finally make China very angry. So they don't want to allow it continuous. So at the end of April, I got the warning.
Well, you were in the United States at that time.
No, I was in Hong Kong. I keep staying in Hong Kong. I do my research. I published one paper on Nature, as I told you, and also I published another paper in March about on the Lancet infectious disease, which is actually quite of influential because it's the first time to talk about viral load can predict the severity of the cases.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure. So I was working, but
when did you transition to the U.S.? When did you escape Hong Kong?
Yeah, so at the end of April.
At the end of April, okay.
Yeah, Mr. Luder called me and warned me that his intelligence showed him that I will be disappeared soon. So he asked me whether I want to go to U.S. and also tell people in English about all the things because his media is in Chinese and I can not show out on his media at that time. Mm-hmm. So I decided to come to America. And
did he help you to get here?
He helped me. And I already have visa, so it's lucky. I had visa at that time.
Okay, because they wouldn't have given you one most likely.
It was lockdown time, kind of lockdown. So if I don't have visa at that time, especially under the surveillance from China government, it's very difficult that I can even enter the American embassy.
Sure.
Because there are a lot of their people, informant all around the American embassy in Hong Kong. They will make me even disappear at that time.
Sure. So was it easier to escape from Hong Kong than it would have been if you were in China?
I don't think at that time, if I was in mainland China, I can successfully come to America. Yeah, very difficult. I don't think I can.
Yeah. So your research saved you.
Yes, in this case, it is. So many things very lucky.
Yeah. But it wasn't all flowers and roses and wow, you're in the United States because we've got our own problems with our pretty significant. I definitely want to dive deep into those. But I'm wondering if you could share, I mean, you talk about your husband a few times, but I understand that he was opposed to you leaving and actually was violently opposed. Can you discuss that?
Oh, yeah. So actually, I didn't know it would happen like that. So from actually January to April, I didn't tell him what I have done. I tried to protect him because at that time in Hong Kong, there are a lot of people fighting against government for the democracy and freedom. Mm-hmm. And during that time, they can get disappeared easily. And if their family really don't know what they have done, it's kind of safe for the family.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I try to protect him. But when I heard that I need leave, I try to bring him away with me.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not Chinese. He's from Sri Lanka.
Mm-hmm.
So the terrible thing is when I told him that, he's super outraged. And it really not like his behavior. Mm-hmm. And he warned me that he threatened me that he said, we can go nowhere. They are everywhere. Can do nothing. And if you go to America, I will kill people like Buddha there. And I asked him, I said, what do you mean you will kill me? And he didn't deny it. And I said, what will you do? Suicide bomb? And he said, he think about like seconds. And he said, we have enough people there. We have thousands of ways to do it. Mm-hmm. So after that, actually, it was a very dangerous period for me until I get the ticket. Mm-hmm. During that, almost 10 days, almost 2 weeks, 10 days like that. So I was under his strict surveillance. Mm-hmm. And also I had some very bad physical situation related to my heart. I suddenly get heart problem and I'm so weak. And the day before I left, I went to check my heart in the hospital. Mm-hmm. The doctors were shocked because my heart rate at rest is over 130.
Whoa. Sinus tachycardia.
Exactly. But I was healthy. So that's why they really feel nervous and they want me to do more examination after that. And they left the record there. Mm-hmm. So I know something wrong happened because in China, everything the government want to do, they want to make it look like nature occurring, like this virus, very nature occurring. And the heart attack is a common way they use. And I see abnormal behavior from my husband. So altogether, I know, he is on the other side, helping them, try to disappear me.
So do you think he gave you something to cause your heart rate to increase?
Yeah, there was, for example, once one day I had the 2 fried eggs as breakfast he cooked for me. I just finished one and I feel very sleepy and uncomfortable. But he kept asking me to finish both. And I refused. I have to sleep. But he always tried to persuade me to go out with him to the seaside. And he said that is a new seaside I've never been to. And I asked where it is. He said, I just discovered it recently. You will enjoy it. It's remote. He knows my interest and he knows how to, get me attracted. However, I refused and I finally didn't eat the other egg. Mm-hmm. And that is almost the whole day I sleep. And his behavior is very also weird. It's like he kept asking me to eat eggs, keep asking me to go to seaside. And finally, he's like disappointed, all this together.
Mm-hmm. So I think that was his strategy to disappear you.
Yes. And before he gave me the eggs, he received a phone call from Malik Paris. And they talked in Sri Lankan language, but I heard my name and very short phone call.
So shortly after thereafter, you flew to the United States.
Yes.
So have there been efforts to attack you or disappear you in the United States to the best of your knowledge? And have you needed to take any extraordinary security precautions?
Because I successfully escaped and when I entered Los Angeles airport at that time, I met the FBI and Homeland Security people.
Mm-hmm.
And when they talk to me, spend hours, they verified my words and they think I'm credible. So let me went to New York. Mm-hmm. That's why after that, China started to launch numerous that kind of attacks to me.
Discrediting attacks.
A lot of discredit and threats. So from the government media in China to CNN and the New York Times, they can control. And all this media spread rumors about me because I have the hamster model in my Nature paper. So they claim I'm just a liar who only know how to keep hamster in the lab. They call me hamster keeper. And they claim I came to New York just want the green card, but I'm the Hong Kong residency. I don't need to come to New York to get green card in that way. And also they tell a lot of rumors to ruin my reputation. And also they for example, they also created thousands of the fake accounts on social media using at least seven languages to spread the cartoons and also the text that they made to discredit me. And this was later verified by the FireEye report company. They wrote the report because they work for CIA and I think Homeland or State Department. They work for some intelligence agency, and then they wrote this report to confirm it that me and also my 3 Yan reports about the origin of virus or totally get this kind of attacks from China. And also my parents, my family members, and even my friends, my alumni, they are under the strict surveillance by China government. And I cannot contact my family. And also they bring my mom and my father into the PlayStation or Ministry of the State Security, those kind of places again and again to torture them.
And also, they're still in mainland China, right?
Yes. And they also try to use my husband to hunt me in America. So now my husband is in New York, and I got intelligence shows that he came here this time just to make the emotional killing to me.
Wow. So you've gone through quite a bit.
Yes.
How do you, I mean, when you were one of the first ones to come out and expose the false narrative that the virus was originated in a lab, and you had pretty strong evidence to support it. Now, subsequently, it took about over a year, but a bit over a year before that bit of information was actually embraced by the mainstream narrative. And they said, oh, yeah, it probably did come from it did come from the lab, and they admitted it. So do you feel somewhat vindicated, and has the intensity of the efforts to discredit you and eliminate you diminished at all?
Actually, I think the things happened, took over 1 year. Remember last year when July, when I was first on the Fox News. So I told them the WHO and the CCP cooperated and they cover up together. At that time, it is a bombshell from Fox News. And after that, you see, within 1 year now, most of people realize it's not from nature. That is a very good turning. And I keep help other people to realize the evidence. And I explain to them how to understand the CCP style and their evidence. So now I say that even some mainstream media start to talk about the possibility of bioweapon. So that is, I think it is very encouraging. And because people need to realize that although China is using this virus together with their misinformation campaign, propaganda, all the things to attack all over the world, but the truth is the truth. So we finally will realize what happened. And somehow I just want to push it happen as soon as I can. Mm-hmm. And once we all go together, I mean, these things get revealed and China cannot hide. So that's all the things I feel now. And I still think, although I want it to be faster, but the progress until now is also good.
It's encouraging for sure.
Yes.
So congratulations on facilitating and, and having the bravery and the courage to come out and, and because at the time, any message like this was censored on social media. We were censored on Twitter for announcing this. So now it's not censored, but they don't take back the old ones. So I'm wondering, I'd like to divert into an interesting conversation about your perspective on what China's doing and its potential collusion, or are they the Lone Rangers on this today? Because there's so many unanswered questions, and it's really kind of up to wide speculation as to what's going on. But I'm wondering what your views are as to, I mean, clearly China's behind the creating the lab origins, but it was funded by the United States. I mean, Fauci funded this through EcoHealth Alliance and Peter and Doshek, and so that's well documented. The evidence and the paper trail is just enormous. So it's somewhat confusing. It's confusing, certainly to me, as to what is the sequence of events. I mean, is the U.S. behind this, and the narrative? Are there people on top of that? The globalist agenda. I mean, what's your take on the sequence of things, and who's running the show?
Okay, thank you, Doctor. So this is a very good question. And I know that when people say that, Fauci is lying, NIH grant went to China, EcoHealth is facilitating the gain functions there. So people turn to think America is dominant behind the unrestricted bioweapon. But let me tell you that there are enough evidence, and also based on all my understanding in this field, especially in China, I can tell that without American Fauci or NIH's funding or Peter Daszak, China would still manage to do it.
Okay.
Let me describe how to say it. Chinese Communist Party, or this communism people, they are like giant octopus, and they have their tentacles. So the brain is like CCP, those scientists, especially the military scientists. And also like the coronavirus expert, especially my previous supervisor, Professor Malik Paris. They are the one had these evil ideas, and they enjoy it, and they want to combine this knowledge. Remember, no other scientist in America has so much rich experience in coronavirus compared to them, because SARS-1, MERS, or happened. Sure. Yes, that's what happened in China and MERS. Those samples shipped to my lab, handled by my husband, and Malik can do all this kind of research. So they're really top. And also they have...
Well, you've got Ralph Barrick at the University of North Carolina.
But he also need to work. Remember his gain function paper with Dr. Shi Jinli, the Bat woman. In that paper, he got the virus from China. Remember? So that is... They have the good technique. That is what China wants. So that's what I want to tell. Even China cannot use their tentacles, I mean the infiltration. If they cannot use this to get your money, still they will manage to get your technology and do it in China. That's the key point. And the money from American taxpayers looks a lot, several millions. However, compared to the money donated by China government, this is just very little piece. And to make
that's amazing, because that information is not widely known. So thanks. But
yes, because the propaganda, the culture difference, the language difference make American lack of the way to understand this. That's why I come to America to provide this analyze evidence and help them to understand what happened.
Okay, good.
So, so China actually always want to blame America for this.
Mm-hmm.
So they even will use propaganda now. You remember once they always telling that this is come out from Fordetric. Mm-hmm. They said origin is from America.
Right,
and
right.
They said because we get America's money, we are pushed to do this. No, not like that. That's only the cunning way in Chinese Communist Party strategies.
Okay.
They use, yeah, please, yeah.
So that is really, really helpful to have a firm grip and understanding from really an insider like you to understand that this really was a Chinese bioweapon developed primarily by the Chinese, partially facilitated by the US, but primarily the Chinese. So that kind of takes the whole different perspective. So, another deep question I have for you, because it's always shocked me that so many people were infected with this infection across the world. And yet with the reports coming from China, it's like, it's just hundreds. It should be tens or hundreds of millions that were infected. So are they lying and not reporting it? Or what do you think is going on there?
You mean the real case numbers in China, right?
Yeah. So what are the real case numbers?
So let me tell you first, how could you know the real number? You have to base it on. So, doctor, if you want to know the number from China, who would you think to ask?
Good question. Yeah.
So
they're not going to tell you the truth.
Yeah, so you're going to ask China government, you know what they will tell you, right?
Yeah.
About their face, they say in the culture is the most important thing. Yeah. And then also they develop this virus and other things in their unrestricted bioweapon program. And it's because they want to destroy Americans' economy and also social order, and then destroy your civilization. And
now, do you think it's just targeted to the United States, or is it worldwide?
Worldwide, however, they always list America as a primary enemy and the biggest problem. If they took over America, it's easy for them to solve the other countries. That's the truth. They listed in the documents in government and also the army. So for this purpose, you see, when they show you this kind of propaganda, also through like TikTok and also other social media, tell you, in China, we control it. Our government is good. We love our government. American people will feel, maybe we should give up our democracy and turn to try the communism party.
Yeah.
That's all they want to do. And the way they control the real information is very cruel. That's how they make people disappear. That's how they arrested those journalists. And they changed the big pharmacy in China. They changed their senior managers. Or even they will, watch them like using surveillance system. We have very developed digital surveillance system in China. And all of this, what Chinese people all know, don't trust any data come out from our government. They don't need to do statistics. They just sit there. Whatever data they want, they write it down. That's how they show you the data.
So, obviously you have your parents and family still live there, and you have many friends and colleagues and associates that are there. So from your experience, does the community, obviously it's not in the media, but is the feedback you're getting that the infection is quite prevalent there and people are dying? And if so, what strategies are they using to address it?
In China, actually, one hand, when they lock down Wuhan, they use very inhuman way. And so that's why it's because the government knows this is a kind of bioweapon, right? Not traditional, but they know this is a bioweapon. And so they don't want it hurt themselves, those officers. So that's why they do this kind of campaign like restriction. And also to people outside, they don't show you the real data. They have thousands of ways. They delay the diagnosis. So when the people died before his death, you didn't know his diagnosis result. So he's not COVID-19 case.
Yeah, it's the opposite of the United States. I mean, you could die from a motorcycle accident and be diagnosed with COVID-19. So they're trying to inflate the numbers, and in China, they're trying to make the numbers disappear.
Yes, totally opposite. In China, also, for example, in America, once a person has diagnosed as COVID, even later he died of some other problem, they still will be treated as COVID case.
Yeah.
But in China, they can use ventilator to keep the patient survive until the test is negative from the swab.
I don't even know why they'd go to bother with that, because they can just change the statistics. They control all the data source.
Yeah. So they have different way to handle, thousands of way to handle. And also very important thing is they give treatment, early treatment, and also they give hydroxychloroquine and other drugs.
China did. So China was giving hydroxychloroquine early on. They didn't, when the people came to the local doctor, they didn't say, go home until you're ready to die and come to the hospital. They said, no, we're going to give you hydroxychloroquine today, right now.
No, more than hydroxychloroquine, they give different type of antiviral drug and other things. But if you're sick, they won't just let you go home. They will still give you drug.
Okay.
And also, remember I said from end of January, and all the media, and I endorsed the hydroxychloroquine. And after that, within 1 week, the military scientists in China filed the patent in China to use hydroxychloroquine for a new purpose to treat COVID-19. And that makes them earn the top award by Chairman Xi for anti-COVID last year.
Interesting.
This is a difference. Hydroxychloroquine is OTC in China.
Oh, interesting. Did not know that.
Yeah, so that, you see, so many misinformation and also so many propaganda here and the censorship here. That's why America's death toll and also the cases number increased like crazy. And one more thing very important, remember China locked down Wuhan and then locked down other cities while they let flights all over the world from Wuhan and other cities.
Yeah, so that was intentional to spread the infection. Yeah.
Yes.
Seed it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because I think the first cases in the U.S. were reported in Washington, which were probably flights from China.
Yes, I remember. It is.
Yeah. So, wow. So here's another confusing aspect, and I'm wondering if you can tie up these loose ends, because clearly the consensus of people who are informed, or it might be more accurate, not misinformed by the conventional media, is that the primary reason for suppressing and censoring all the information on these alternative therapies to treat it is to push people towards this COVID injection, the COVID jab, which is, given to so many probably over 100 million people in the United States. So, and the intention appears to be, many people believe it's a kill shot and that people will die prematurely from this. So how do you connect the COVID shot with it seems to be separate, and it seems to be like generated by greed from pharmaceutical companies in the United States to develop a therapy that they can get amazingly reimbursed for, but really doesn't do anything to address the illness and probably kills people prematurely. So is there a connection between the COVID injections and the Chinese strategy?
So definitely there is clear connection with evidence between the vaccine and the problem and also Chinese Communist Party strategies. However, it's not an easy answer that I know some people online, they try to explain that vaccine will kill people and so it is another bioweapon. And this is not the accurate reason. Okay. And the thing is, I want to let people know, first, China released the virus they developed in the military labs. And this virus doesn't have the high death rate. And their way is to make someone, that's why I called it unrestricted bioweapon. The way they make it is because such unrestricted bioweapon need to look like nature occurring. That's the key point. Another key point is once you realize something wrong, they use misinformation and denial to confuse you. So now let's say when China released it and China controls the scientific community to spread misinformation and censored to let people believe it's come from nature, what will people do? Two ways. One is they will think about drugs, the drugs they already have. And the other way is vaccine, because people are all educated to accept the vaccine can anti-pandemic. And in this case, the useful drug, like the hydroxychloroquine and later ivermectins, are so cheap. How could they use this to earn huge profits? That's why when the people like Chinese Communist Party also had a lot of the stock shares from like Pfizer, from Moderna, from other big pharmacies.
They were heavily invested in those companies.
Oh yeah, check the money they put in. I mean, they are the big bosses behind too.
I did not know that. I know Gates was for sure, and I believe Fauci was. So.
Gates put a lot of money to develop vaccine. At that time, when I was in Hong Kong, end of January last year, we basically, let me tell you that it's like I was told whatever proposal I wrote, and I can get such money from Gates and the Hong Kong government to develop the vaccine. So they don't care about what you really can develop. They just want people all focus on this area.
And this is where you were when you were working on the influenza vaccine?
I have an influenza vaccine patent pending, but my boss told me just use the idea to do the COVID-19 virus. And I refused. I checked. I did my research. And I told him there are so many problems we never solved in SARS-1. And now SARS-2 is a big version of SARS-1. I don't think I can overcome this problem and have a safe and effective vaccine candidate. That's why I cannot apply it, right? But he doesn't mind. He said, just do it. I didn't. So that's why you see behind it, those people from scientists. So this kind of chance for scientists, you know how valuable, right? Money sold to you.
Sure.
And the big pharmacies, they all say, okay, now we can use this chance to make money. And I'm sure Dr. Fauci, I mean, unless he's stupid, he understands what will happen if he supports this kind of vaccine development.
No, he knows quite well. He's been in the U.S. government for 50 years, 5 decades.
Yeah, so you don't think he's stupid, right?
No, he's very clever, very sophisticated, but he's also a sociopath and a malevolent for sure. So, yeah, I'm not a big fan of that man.
Exactly. So that's why they also use the censorship and they also use the chance. Fauci and Dashak, they are not the people China really trust. So, but China know how to manipulate them. And China know once they are manipulated, when they see the opportunities, they will run to their benefits. That's how.
So at the higher level, you think the Chinese Communist Party had some influence on Fauci and Gates to move in that direction?
Yeah, for example, they asked them to tell that it's from nature, right? Then they will let them realize going through WHO, like my boss, all these people behind and deliver the, Fauci, he never studied coronavirus by himself.
He's a politician. He's not a researcher or scientist. Yeah.
Yes. So, doctor, when this person sits there, they deliver message to public, they actually get the knowledge from other people behind them.
Right.
Right. So who delivers the message to him? People like my boss, medic parents. So also the same message will be delivered to WHO, to Lancet, to Nature Science Cell, all these journals. And all finally, you see every scientist who stay there and tell you, it's come from nature, we need to use vaccine. And the scientists, they know something wrong, but they don't want to touch it. They see the money and other benefits in front of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somehow, China knows the vaccine will have problem. Why? Again, back to people like my boss, Malik Paris. What Malik knows is if you check his MD, Ph.D, and his very tight hand in the emerging infectious disease, especially coronavirus. He's the one study and discover cytokine storm. And later in SARS-1, he found antibody-dependent enhancement. And also, these people, they know how difficult to have a safe and effective vaccine against the coronavirus. So they know from the beginning, especially plus those functions they add into the coronavirus to target human. They know how difficult to make a vaccine safe to people. However, let it go. They make money behind you, and they can say America goes into chaos, right? Because they make politicians think push the policy to get vaccine even mandate will help to solve the pandemic. They teach some students, they train people to believe vaccine can help them. And after that, America is divided. People pro-vaccine or against the vaccine. And again, they will be divided because someone sees the adverse effects. They realize they are cheated. They will be angry to the government.
Yeah, for sure. They're domestic terrorists. So is the Chinese government, are they making the COVID injections available over there, or they're not? They don't offer that at all?
Oh, they also, they give also mandate vaccine, although they claim
they are mandating vaccines.
Yeah, the way they mandate is not like they let American people believe. The way they mandate is because they know this virus is so dangerous.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of potential, risky during the pandemic. So to protect themselves, they don't mind to give our people the bad quality of vaccine. They even use inactive vaccine. That is very insecure, especially in coronavirus case. But they give it, and then they also give the treatment isolation. You see the news yesterday come out from Epoch Type. They said China is enlarging the building of the kind of camping things to hold the corona patients, the COVID patients in the future.
In isolation, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So China actually is not for your good purpose. It's for their own purpose. Those people try to protect themselves, no matter drugs, vaccine, or isolation. I do all the things I can do, just try to get away from this virus.
Okay. All right. So, one of the ulterior motivations that many believe for this is resulting in global tyranny. And one of the, I guess, most classic illustrations of that would be the social credit systems that's used in China. Do you feel, and obviously you're familiar with that, and I probably have some direct experience, do you feel that we're moving that way toward in the United States, and that may be one of the strategies that the Chinese are using to get us to implement that social credit system?
Oh, you mean like using a digital social credit system like that, right?
Yeah.
In China, they have applied it since the COVID outbreak. For example, in China, you need to use your phone to upload, to install an app. And even you take the bus or you go to the restaurant, you have to scan the code. And the code can trace you whether you are even like the close contact to other strangers. If you appear in the same cinema or the train station, then they will automatically trace you, and then your code will change the color, and you will be sent immediately to the isolation place. That's the way. And China has done different levels of such digital surveillance system to Chinese people. They linked everything together. For example, if the parents and the grandparents didn't get vaccine, the kids cannot go to school this autumn. So unlike this, and in America, I do say, sadly, there are people, they pro the mandate. and they clearly didn't realize once the population are separated into this, in this case, into vaccinated and unvaccinated, then you have to have the system to let other people identify whether you are vaccinated or unvaccinated. Mm-hmm. And this system has to be available not only in a local place, right? So then one step by step, later you have to establish the system to surveillance the people. And you see what happened? They know that vaccine cannot stop pandemic. China knows. And your scientists like Fauci, they also knows. So that's why they call for the booster. Mm-hmm. So once you support mandate for 2 doses, then you have to support for the booster. And then third, fourth, 60, 100 times, all goes on.
Yeah.
That is
indefinite.
And you are tied into this credit system you built.
Yeah. So do you think that the United States is moving towards these isolation camps? I mean, some people believe they're building these FEMA camps and eventually will herd the unjabbed into the camps. Do you have any views on that?
I just say that very clearly that the people like the propaganda and mainstream media controlled by those people and like the Fauci, this kind of people, they try to blame all the things to unvaccinated people. Mm-hmm. And then later, I mean, if it goes on, if the censorship keep going on, like they don't allow you to talk about early treatment, even you treated, you cured thousands of people. They don't allow you to talk about it. And they threaten the doctors, right? And then they even withdraw doctors' license. So if these things keep pushing on, then, I mean, inevitably, the end will be the same as what happened in China. However, I mean, now still, I still believe there is opportunities because in America, not like in China, you still have the separation of powers. You still have rules and your people brave, and because your government didn't control you as strictly as CCP did to us. Mm-hmm. So you have the chance to, against all these things and with evidence, right? And when you all get together to do this, stand out, we still have a chance to fight against all these things.
Okay, so those are really great words of wisdom from an insider who's seen and experienced the Chinese system. So what would your message be to those watching this in the United States, understanding that almost everyone watching this is not brainwashed? They understand the truth. They know the deep details of what this propaganda campaign is. So what is your message to those individuals and the 60 million people in the United States who have yet to be jabbed?
I want to tell the audience that China actually spent decades to develop such unrestricted bioweapons.
Okay.
And their goal is to achieve the world dominance by 2035.
Okay.
And now, because of the COVID, they celebrated the trophy. And also they are talking in the evidence, in the document, that they want to make it even earlier. So it's very urgent for all of us. China is there. They want to use all this Marxism and Maoism to overcome the world, and America is their primary enemy. So we have to stand out for the future, for our next generations. We cannot stay there, keep silence. This will be the last chance we have to fight against such communism evil plans and to save all of us. I'm here not only a whistleblower, I keep working to study this evidence and check the document and also work with doctors and scientists to help to solve this pandemic. And most importantly, we have to all work together to stop the next time such pandemics or such attacks come out from China.
Okay, I couldn't agree more. And I have 2 follow-up questions. One is the specifics on what you would recommend and what do you envision as being the best strategy. But before that, I think it's important to frame that answer with what do you think the United States looks like once China wins and they're successful? What is it going to be like to live in the United States? Can you give a projection?
Oh, you can just say what happened in Hong Kong now. China spent like 2 years from mid-2019 until now. And they destroyed this kind of law system and democracy and freedom in Hong Kong. And they also conducted the national security laws. Basically, they own your privacy, they own your freedom, and you are forced to listen to them. And there is no reason they can do whatever things to you. Basically, you are a slave living in the modern society. And no doubt, once China overcomes America, this will be the same here. And maybe it can be worse because they have other technology at that time.
Yeah, that's a good point, because technology, I embrace and I'm passionate about technology, but it's two sides, a good and evil side, and it can be used either way. So I couldn't agree more. So I guess the final question is the specific recommendations. I mean, you've provided a powerful setting to encourage and motivate people to action, but specifically, what actions do you think we need to take? How do we resist? How do we prevent this inevitability, what appears to be inevitability, of China taking over the United States?
Great, doctor. So I want Americans to know that first, adults as us should realize the evilness of the communism, Maoism, Marxism, no matter what names they change, no matter
socialism, objectivism.
Of course, all this.
Not objectivism, sorry, collectivism. Yes.
They basically, I mean, the nature of that is no limitation of the bottom line and no consideration of the humanity and no faith. That's why they do everything to achieve their goals. And once we realize this, tell it out. Especially when you know the truth of virus, you can understand it better. And then let the people around you know that, because they are doing propaganda to brainwash people, to brainwash the kids. And also, you must let your policymakers, legislators know this, because I'm the foreigner, but you are the American citizen. You can vote. So you must let them understand the importance and push them to do something. You should know, don't believe Chinese government and don't give any mercy to Chinese Communism Party. And also, you have to update your law system, because they studied decades to study the weakness in your law system, to divide America, to get avoid of punished like the mafia. So once you do all these things, hold them accountable and don't let them do more. That's the end of the pandemic.
Yes, well, brilliant. I knew I would deeply appreciate connecting with you and dialoguing about this important topic, and I deeply appreciate the opportunity to do that, and especially want to thank you for your courage and your bravery, and putting yourself at personal risk of being disappeared by the Chinese government. And I hope that no harm ever comes to you. I really do. But and for coming to this country and being a harbinger, a warner, a herald of what could come if we don't pay attention. I mean, it's a terrible future that's possible unless we wake up.
Yes.
So we have to do that. And I thank you for reinforcing that warning at great cost to your personal safety.
Thank you, Doctor. And it's my pleasure to talk with you. And I hope our audience will understand what happened and let other people know that.
All right. Well, thanks again. I appreciate your work.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for watching. Remember, hit the like and subscribe button so you can get more videos that can help you and your family take control of your health.